The Legend of Zelda franchise is undoubtedly one of my favorite series, so please excuse my fanboyism for a moment. The series stretches back as far as the 1980s, covering both 2D and 3D worlds, and even blended them together. Nearly every Zelda game brings its own game mechanics, whether it be flying, traveling through time, or turning into a wolf. It's one of the main reasons why I love the Zelda franchise, and I look forward to future games, but for now, I want to talk about my favorite Zelda game mechanics.
Hey Tyler, why don't you do like a top 5 Zeldas from The Legend of Zelda? Because I mean, you can't have a list about Zelda without Zelda, am I right?
Mark!
Tyler!
That's it, Mark. I'm taking you out of my video.
Tyler, don't you do it. Don't you do it, Tyler. Don't you do it! No. No. Yeah!
So on to the vid.
Oh, hey, Tyler, but wait.
Mark!
Ow.
Minish Cap is one of the few Zelda games I never played all that much. Being on the Game Boy Advance has somehow slipped my view. I guess I was just too busy playing Four Swords by myself. It starts with Link and Zelda going to the Festival of the Picori when a bad guy named Vati comes along. Oh no, he's gonna the sword. Breaking the sword releases all the baddies and now Hyrule is once again in peril. Link is sent out to find the Picori, who haven't been seen in 100 years, so that they can fix the sword. I mean, why not send out a boy into the woods on his own? Without any help. It's a good plan. On his travels, he comes across Eslo, a Minish Cap who he then saves and partners up with to beat Vati. This is where the game changes completely. Eslo gives you the ability to shrink in size and see the world through the eyes of a Picori. Puzzles now become deep lakes, houses are made from shoes and mushrooms, you can even talk to the Picori who help you mend the sword, after you get the 4 elements. Lazy Minish. All of Hyrule is filled with new ways to explore, like tiny caves or whirlwinds that are otherwise inaccessible. Shrinking is even used to find secrets, some of which are mandatory, some of which are just for fun. Leaves are scattered around dungeons, reminding you of how small you really are, and even bosses can be normal enemies that would take regular Link just a couple slices to kill. Which makes me think I could probably just step on this entire temple. But that's not what this is about. The ability of shrinking opens the game up to a whole nother level, allowing you to see Hyrule as you never have before. And that's enough to make me come back to the Minish Cap. This is the one Zelda game mechanic that I wasn't 100% sure on. I wasn't sure if I wanted this spot to go to Twilight Princess for changing into a wolf or Skyward Sword for flying around, but in the end, I knew I had to go with Wind Waker. I never really bonded with this game like I have so many other Zelda games, and I've never even beaten it. But when I did play this game, one word came to mind, and I'm sure you all know what the word is. Adventure. Starting the game off on Outside Island, looking over the Great Sea, wondering what could possibly be out there, only to later find out that there's a lot. Once Link's sister is kidnapped by a big-ass bird, it's your responsibility to get her back, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that meddling Ganondorf. Link is saved and brought to shore by the King of the Red Lions, which is a pretty weird name for a talking boat, but then again, he is a talking boat, so let's move on. Throughout the game, the King of the Red Lions, or as I like to call him, Totodile, helps Link by giving him advice, much like the Minish Cap, and even gives him the Wind Waker that he had for some reason. Once you get that in the sail, the entire game opens up and the sense of adventure really kicks in. You can explore the entirety of the Great Sea in search of islands for progression, treasure, or more importantly, tingle. The vastness of the ocean is pretty crazy for a Zelda game, and there's so much to do, like talk to fish, hunt for treasure, and good lord, a giant squid? Kill it! With over 40 islands to explore all over the ocean, sailing with old Totodile to the amazing music is much better than, I don't know, riding a train.
Have you ever wondered if the world you're living in has a duality of some kind? Or has a second nature that you can't quite see or determine for yourself if it's around you in a physical manner, manifesting in the same space, yet somehow staying out of reach?
Well, shit, so that's what's happening in the good old Link to the Past! For realsies though, LTTP has one of the coolest mechanics in the entirety of Zelda, at least, well, you know, in my opinion. Being able to switch from the light world to the dark world essentially expands on the amount of content that's in the game. Not only is the dark world its own entity with its own kind of enemies and NPCs, it has puzzles involving the player who must travel from one specific spot of the light world to transfer over to the dark world in order to solve it. Okay, I gotta admit, that's pretty cool. It blows my mind every time just knowing of all the uses Nintendo created with the world changing, and it still has some of the smartest, most creative pieces of game design I've seen, with its influence expanding to even some of the more recent Zelda titles. Despite not knowing much about Zelda, when I first played this game and went from the light world to the dark world, I just knew that it was incredibly special and was absolutely something to behold. Not only is the dark world completely opposite in terms of appearance and presentation, but also its usefulness in terms of continuing through the story is unprecedented, as you have to figure out this strange new setting on your quest to save all of Hyrule. All of this combined makes it a pretty solid pick for being one of the best mechanics to ever grace the Zelda game. Plus, I kind of told Tyler that, this was what I would be picking, so it kind of has to be something good, right? Ah, F it, I'm out!
A Link Between Worlds takes a lot from two previously mentioned games. Obviously from being a sequel to The Link to the Past, and it even builds off of Minish Cap. All being 2D games, A Link Between Worlds separates itself from me, being my favorite 2D Zelda game, but also one of my favorites across the series. It takes place in the same Hyrule as A Link to the Past, and starts out in a very similar way, with Link sleeping. Why is Link always sleeping? But this time around, there's a sorcerer named Yuga who is totally threatening, coming in and turning peeps into paintings. Link gets knocked the F out, meets Ravio and gets a bracelet. You eventually fight Yuga, who then turns Link into a painting, but thanks to the bracelet, Link escapes from the wall and enters my second favorite Zelda game mechanic, wall merging. This is one of the most in-depth and easily one of the best used mechanics in all of Zelda. Its first use is the travel to Lorule, or the Dark World from Link to the Past, and you can travel back and forth whenever you want through fissures in the walls. This creates secrets to find and items to collect that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get. Dungeons are all designed around the use of wall merging while continuing the Zelda style of having a specific item needed to progress through them, and the combination of the two is seamless. The bosses are so well designed around having to use a combination of an item and wall merging, it makes for some of the funnest boss fights in the series. Combine that with the new ability to rent items and do any dungeon in any order you want, exploration reaches a new high for the 2D games. This all creates one of the most all-around great Zelda games that I can't even count how many times I've played. That was a lie. I've beaten it almost 3 times now, I'm sorry! The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Let me give you a minute to finish rolling your eyes. Really though, when making this list and with all the great Zelda games I've played, I simply couldn't top the transformation mask in Majora's Mask. Except, the couples mask, because it's clearly the best one. It's one of the only Zelda games that lets you play as different characters, and the only one that forms a story and main gameplay around them. In Majora's Mask, you get a Deku Scrub, Goron, and Zora mask that lets you transform into their race all the specific characteristics and traits. Whether you're flying as a Deku Scrub, rolling as a Goron, or swimming as a Zora, Majora's Mask builds a world around using the mask to progress in the game. I mean, you wouldn't want to roll faster than Sonic could ever hope to, or be Link and swim like a friggin' dolphin, or fly for a little bit. The 4 areas in Termina are specialized for each mask, and each one has its own designated temple, making the players use their newly acquired power to solve puzzles and defeat bosses, which encapsulates everything I love about the series. Termina is filled with side quests, most of which are to get other masks, but usually require the use of a transformation mask to travel to those places or get specific items. Everyone likes to talk about how dark the game is, and well, that's because it is. No, it's not the darkest game, but every transformation mask comes from death, and the sadness spreads from those who knew the now deceased. Link plays the Song of Healing as sort of a way to release their spirits, giving him the mask, and he honors them by using their gift to defeat the possessed Skull Kid. This game obviously means a lot to me, but it spreads way beyond just nostalgia. Everything from game mechanics to dem feels make this objectively one of the best Zelda games, and I have the addition of the mask to thank for that. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my Zelda Month video. I had an insanely great time making this video, but I have a lot of people to thank for this. First off, Longarms for being my bro and being in this video. We finally created our Let's Play channel that you can find in the description. I also want to thank Jolly Go and Skip the Game for helping me get footage. And finally to my Patreon supporters, Levi Van Beek and Tim S and my other Patreons for donating to me and helping me create the content I do. If you like this video, it would mean the world to me if you shared it around with a like and subscribe to catch future videos. Thanks again for watching everybody. I'm HappyMaskGamer and I'll see you next time.